leadership yonke khona ukuthi bebezile ukuzosupporta leli cala eliundendende elingapheli noma selithele yaphela liyavuswa kodwa ke asethembe sesiye emaphethelweni. Namhlanje njengoba nazi ilanga ebelibekiwe ukuthi liyaqala icala liqalileke, ayisekho lento yokuthi kukhona abadojayo nabathi asikho ready. Kodwa into eyenzekile ukuthi abamele mina bathulile phezu kwenkantolo ukuthi sizoqala ngokuthi sibonise enkantolo ukuthi leli cala selithathe isikhathi eside kangaka, ziningi izinto ezenziwe ababephenya icala nabashushisayo ezingekho emthethweni. Besizimiseleke namhlanje ukuthi kosukela ekuseni lize lishone silanda ukuthi benzeni izinto eziphambene nomthetho ezingavumike ukuthi uma benze kanjalo bangaphinde baphathe balishushise icala. Bakhala ukuthi hayi bebengakayiboni inkulumo yethu, bafisa ukuyibona ngoba nabo kofanele baphendule. Ileso sizathu esibangela ukuba namhlanje lihlehliswe, alisahlehliselwe ukuthi kuyohlangana ngalowanyaka. Bathe ngomhla ka-26 kuyo lenyanga siyabuya sizoqala udaba lokulithetha leli cala lokugxeka nje okokuqala ukuthi awukwazi ukuba necala kuze kuphela iminyaka emibili kushintshe ngisho izinto lezo kuthiwa ama-charges, amacala obekwe wona alokho enqwelwa ngapha, elulwa ngapha, ebazwa ngapha. Angifuni-ke ukusho okuningi ngoba okuningi sizokusho enkantolo ukuthi yini le esikhala ngayo ukuthi leli cala alinabo ubulungiswa. Linabantu ababehleba nabantu abaphenyayo kuthiwa akaboshwe lo, niyozwela masekukhulunywa. Kukhona nabantu abaphethe zona lezi zomthetho besho njalo. Kukhona nababengithuka njengenhlamba, yonke inhlobo enhlamba noyizwela masekukhulunywa. Kodwa futhi babhizi baphethe icala. Ilokho-ke sithe soqala ngakho esizochaza ngemininingwane yakhe konke ukuthi kwenzeke kanjani, nokuthi ngingakazi nokuthi ngiyoba upresident kwakukhona abasebebekiwe eceleni siqhamuke inhlebeni ngoba abantu bakhuluma ngeingcingo bathi abazwiwa kanti bayaziwa abanye abantu. Izoxoxwa ke leyo ndaba ebese kugcineni sithi leli cala liphethwe ngobulungiswa na noma liphethwe ngokona. Kuyoxoxa lokho, ayikho into etheni esingayisho namhlanje. Mina nje okwami ukunibonga ukuthi niphinde nibe khona kanye nabaholi ukuze sikwazi ukuthi sizwe. Ngizimiseleke mina ukuthi lapho kugwegwa khona umthetho nguqondisi. Uma abaphathi bomthetho bengakwenzi lokho nabo bewuphula, sizoxabana impela. Soxabana impela. Uma ngibona ukuthi bayophula lo mthetho besebenzisa ukuthi baphethe umthetho bengawuphethe ngendlela ngizokwala mabethi ngena la ngeke ngene ngoba ngeni la futhi mase ngishilo sengishilo ngifuna benze ubulungisa baphathe umthetho ngendlela yomthetho lo mthetho lo okhona namhlanje noma lokho abakubiza abapheceleza idemocracy ngingomunye wayilwela ngangileli democracy engiyaziyo awukwazi ukungibhida namhlanje ngisaphila uthi democracy le engeyona inkomo ngazala umuntu impela ayikazi imzale nje ngamzala bone ngengane nje ihamba ngenyawo embili yoncela phansi kwenkomo kuthi sekuyomampunge ke lawo nalapha ke ngilindele ukuthi umthetho usebenze njengomthetho siyezwana kulungileke ake ngidlule kuleli iphuzu ke sengiqedile njalo ngidlule kuleli iphuzu ngiyafisa ukuthi uma sizela ngoba sizosekela uZuma sisekele uZuma singenze okunye ufuna ukuncenga ngoba lokho akunikeza isithunzi umbutho nabanye abantu abakude soba inhlekisa ukuthi sithi sizosupport uZuma la size sonke kodwa mase sila bese sihlukanisana naphakathi leyo mpiyenu enifuna ukuyilwa kwezinye indawo ineyindawo zayo ngifisa ukuthi singayilwi la ngiyanicela angifuni ngithi ngizela ngilindele ukusupportwa ngihambe sengijabhile ngiyanicela uma mina nginento enginayo ngifuna ukudilana noComrade othile ngidile naye endaweni right le siletha ukuthi sizosupporta mina ukuze ngiwine lelicala angingathuki ke sengibona ukuthi sekunzima manje ukuthi sekuyalumela ke manje kulumelelani sibe kufanele basibe sonke sibe nomoya wodwa uma kufika isikhathi lapho sifuna ukudila namunye nomunye sidile nabo ngaleyo nkathi asikwazi ukuzibukisa ebantwini abangekho kuthina nabayizitha zethu sibajabulise ngiyafisa ukuthi ngokulandelayo nikhumbule ukuthi ngakhala impela ukuthi mina sengineminyakana eminingi ngilapha embuthweni baningi oComrade seke ngaphambana nabo either sibanga ipolitiki noma sibanga ukuyiphatha nje kodwa mase ngiphakathi kwabantu ngeke ungizwe ngithi vu kukhona engibazela izinto ezimbi uma ngingazisho namhlanje ngingabhubhizwe kodwa ngiyathula ngikhuluma ngoba angifuni ukuphoxa iANC ngake ngathi komunye umuntu ethi wena uhlala uthi uzokhuluma ukhuluma ngani ngathi awuyazi responsibility enginayo ngeANC ngoba uma ngingakhuluma ngabantu abathile abaziwa ngendlela ethile ngithi lo uyilokhu mhlawumbe ilist yakho inde kakhulu ekugcineni uyobuza umuntu ukuthi kazi kulabo abaseleke kazi ubani onje ingaba ingozi kwakuANC ngibe ngithi ngisiza iANC noma yini mina ngiyakholelwa ukuthi noma singaphambana angimvumeli umuntu mangavumeli naye ngavumelani naye ngiyakhuluma ngisho konke kodwa fanele ngimhloniphe cela nje ukuthi ngokuzayo nginaleli ukuthi uma ninemizwa nikhiphe iphathi yepolitiki leyo kodwa nje ngithi ngoba la size ngecala asizile ngepolitical activity lejwayelekile size ngecala ukuzosekela mina. Mina uma nginibona ningaka ngingijabule ukuthi angingedwa. Kodwa uma umuntu angathi ayi angisayi kuleli cala kaZuma ngoba lapha ngafike ngenziwe lokhu nalokhu. Usunginciphisa labantu abafanele ukuthi babonise ukuthi bayasekela. Ngiyacela ma-comrade ami sisebenza indaba njengama-comrade. Ziyezikhathi masise inkonfeni sikwenye indawo noma sikwi-political activity ethile lapho ifuneka khona ungitshene uyabona wona Zuma uyilokhu nalokhu nalokhu nami ngikuphenduka nawe uyilokhu nalokhu nalokhu. Asingabonwa izwe sibone na izingilozi eindiza phezulu. Siyezwana isicelo nje lesengisenzayo. Oh inde lendlela esihambayo. Oh inde lendlela esihambayo. Oh inde lendlela esihambayo. Oh inde lendlela esihamba. Lashu Mandela kubalandeli bakhe wathi sohlangana nge-free. Washu Mandela kubalandeli bakhe wathi sohlangana nge-freedom. Hinde lendlela esihambayo. Hinde lendlela esihambayo. Hinde lendlela esihambayo. Hinde lendlela esihamba. Washu Mandela Washu Mandela kubalandeli bakhe wathi sohlangana nge-freedom day. Umshini wami mshini wami, umshini wami mshini wami, umshini wami we baba. Umshini wami mshini wami, umshini wami mshini wami, umshini wami we baba. Umshini wami mshini wami, umshini wami mshini wami, umshini wami we baba. Umshini wami mshini wami, umshini wami mshini wami, umshini wami we baba. Hayi wena uyangibambezela. Umshini wami mshini wami, umshini wami we baba.
All right, there we come out of former President Jacob Zuma speaking to his supporters after his court case was postponed or adjourned to the 26th of May. Now I've got in studio with me Mzwandile Mbeche, our political editor, just to break down some of the issues that came out of it. Mzwandile, of course, there were a number of speeches that were made, but let's just start with Jacob Zuma himself. He did address some of the booing that was taking place. And just give us a sense of a thrust of what he had to say, because he did say he didn't want to say much, but he did talk for quite some time.
Oh yes, thank you very much, Nompu. It was very interesting to hear. In fact, he made 2 points as he ascended the podium. So basically, the first one, he said, you know what, the trial has started, so no turning back now. But he says the reason why there was an adjournment today is because there are a few issues that they need to tell to the judge. He's basically saying in these years that this case has been ongoing, so there's been a lot of tampering, so they want to demonstrate that to the judge. And he says, Nompu, he hopes that the judge or those who are charged with this responsibility, they would listen and follow the law. Because if they don't, he simply will not cooperate with them. He says, we'll fight and I will not cooperate with them. I mean, I'm sure we know with regards to what has happened with the Zondo situation. And then the second point, Nombu, was on the booing. Remember, the provincial secretary of KZN, Mdumseni, when he spoke, people booed. And then I think it didn't go down well with him, because he's saying, well, all of you are here to come and support me. Yes, I know you have certain feelings politically. You will deal with those at the right platforms, the branches or the elective conferences. But here, all of you have come to support me, and then I want it to stay that way. I think those are the main points that he spoke about. Nombo.
Mzwandile, let's get to the SG, Ace Magashule. Of course, he did speak to the supporters, and one of the outcomes of the NEC, the decision that was taken by the ANC, was that he mustn't speak in a public forum currently, as he's suspended. And he did say that no one was going to ban him. He'll be in the ANC for life, and that nobody can tell him, you know, not to talk or whatever it may be. Do you think he violated some of those rules that they came out with?
On the face of it, he definitely did. I mean, as he was speaking, I just went back to check what are some of the conditions that allow him to speak. Basically, the conditions are that he may not represent the organization or his office, and I don't think that he did, and that he may not speak on behalf of the ANC in whatever structure, or he may not mobilize ANC or even organization and individuals. And remember what he said. He basically said on the 26th, I want all of you to be here, because he will be bringing the entire Free State to KZN, and then he said KZN must do the same. So preliminarily, I would assume that he has basically, I would say, violated those conditions. And it will be interesting, Nompu, to hear what the top six will say, because they had said they were going to respond to his letter that he has served on them, the court papers today. So given that he has also done what he did, so let's watch and see what will happen.
And of course, he has said that he's not going to proffer an apology that was requested by the NEC top six, or top five, if you like, until such time that his case is heard in court as to whether he did violate any rules or not.
Yeah, I guess what he perhaps is banking on now is that he's taking this thing to court. If, for example, the court were to agree with him, probably the decision of the ANC would then be null and void, because he's challenging quite a number of issues around the NEC. In fact, even that Rule 53.7 that was invoked to suspend him. So he is even challenging the constitutionality of it. So yes, it's going to be very interesting. I think right now, when you look at what he's doing, he's banking on court to be on his side. And then at the same time, he is busy looking at the branches to intervene. As you heard what Tony Yengeni, the NEC member, who's always been aligned to him, what he's saying. He's basically saying this is the time for the branches to intervene, because in their view, both of them are saying we are not leaving the ANC. Whatever fight we have, we'll fight it from within.
Yeah, and if the branches do intervene, how would you envisage that happening?
Well, obviously, they are hoping that they would have the numbers. It's about the numbers when it comes to the branches. And then even, I think, Kalni House was even saying, we want a special national conference. And he says they are scared of the special national conference because they know what will happen. So in their view, they feel that on the ground, they have the support. And remember, in the ANC, the branch is the most important element in terms of running the party. So if indeed they have more branches, it means if there were to be a conference, they'll certainly win that conference. In fact, to round this up, basically they are saying this is not about factions. If you listen to what Tony Yengen said, they said this is about ideology. Even in the court papers that Ace Magashule served on the ANC, he basically alluded to that. They are saying we are fighting an ideological battle here.
Yeah. And then one last thing to Tony Yengeni again. He did say that, and it's an accusation that's been made before in the previous dispensation, that state organs are being used to basically deal with political opponents. Your thoughts on that?
Oh, yes. I think they've been saying that all along. Basically to say people are using the NPA. In fact, even if you listen to the interview that the suspended Secretary General of the ANC said when we had the interview with him as the SABC, I think last week, he was basically saying the NPA, and then they are not even ending at the NPA. I mean, Tony Yengen was saying even the judges are bought, well, including the journalists. He said all these people are bought. So you can see that this is so deeply rooted, and it's very difficult to see how they will resolve it. In fact, I think it will be the conference. Whoever wins, perhaps it will be better if they win it outright.
Yeah, Mzwandile, so much to unpack, but not enough time. We're now at the top of the hour. We'll leave it there. That's our political editor, Mzwandile Mbeche. Okay, so we are going to continue.
Do what?
Okay, so for now we welcome you to the 1 o'clock news. Of course, we are going to be having more news for you, and of course our top story is the fact that Jacob Zuma, former President Jacob Zuma's case has been postponed or adjourned until the 26th of May. He was speaking to his supporters a little bit earlier, alongside flanked by other senior members of the ANC who were supporting him. Those include ANC NEC member Tony Yengeni, and of course the suspended ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule was there. He also spoke briefly, even though the ANC has told him that he actually shouldn't speak currently as he's suspended. Of course, Carl Nihas also spoke, basically supporting the president and saying that the ANC should never have suspended the Secretary General Ace Magashule. A lot of very interesting comments coming out of that. I do have with me in studio our political editor Mzwandile Mbeche, who has been observing proceedings this morning. And Mzwandile, so we continue. We've been given permission to continue our discussion. A lot came out of those various speeches. Just give us a sense of what struck you the most.
Well, this was a court case, Nompu, but certainly the interest, perhaps to many of us, was beyond court, because it was in court. It was just procedural issues, and then it was adjourned. It was more about what was happening outside court, which we indeed did see. In fact, if I think you've been listening to some of my colleagues earlier, they've been saying this is now the start of the groundwork towards the 55th conference. Remember, the next ANC conference is next year, December 2022. So given all that is happening, given the clarion call by an NEC member, Tony Yengeni, basically to say, well, the branches need to intervene now. That is exactly what he is saying. He is saying, ideologically, we can't agree. We want you, the branches, to resolve this, because if you are not resolving it, we'll continue to be paralyzed. So this is the start. And the fact that Nompu, the Secretary General who is suspended, stood up and spoke, speaks volumes.
Yeah. Let's leave it there for now, Mzwandile, and let's bring in Samkele Maseko, our colleague who's been on the ground in KZN for us. Samkele, we're just crossing over to you to find out what your impressions are of the morning and the outcome so far.
Essentially, what we have, Desiree, is that we can even break this, that Ace Magashule will not be apologizing to the African National Congress anytime soon. So Ace Magashule, to the SABC, says that he will not be apologizing as instructed by the ANC officials, as per the NEC that just sat up last weekend. Ace Magashule saying that is part of his court case, and he will not be apologizing anytime soon. He spoke to him as he was leaving the market square going towards his vehicle, saying that he's gone to the courts of law and he wants his suspension lifted, and that he will not be commenting any further, and that it was great addressing ANC members here in Pietermaritzburg at Jacob Zuma's corruption trial. Also saying that the entire Free State next week will be coming to this court case on the 26th of May to support former President Zuma, calling on leaders of the ANC in the province in KwaZulu-Natal to bring all ANC members who want to come and support former President Zuma to come in their thousands to come and support the former president. So the total takeaway out of this particular engagement is that the SG of the ANC, who was suspended, says he will not be apologizing as per instructed by ANC officials after the NEC meeting on suspending ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa without a mandate from ANC structures. And also, as my colleague, the political editor of the SABC, Mzwandile Mbeche, was saying, Tony Yengeni is saying that there are serious ideological differences in the ANC. To quote him, quote, "There are irreconcilable ideological differences in the ANC." end of quote, calling on the branches of the African National Congress to intervene, to have by-branch meetings, to engage with one another, to call branch general meetings, to come and defend the African National Congress in their own words, because of this ideological war that is irreconcilable that is going on in the African National Congress between the radical economic transformation and those who are perceived as the reformist in the ANC. Tony Yengen is saying he will go down to his grave having not voted for the Democratic Alliance, which he characterizes as the enemy.
Samkele, in terms of what former President Jacob Zuma had to say, was there anything specific that you took away from it?
Former President Zuma essentially came and pleaded with ANC members not to boo leaders of the party, saying that if they've got differences with them, they must go towards proper structures of the governing party and resolve those particular issues. As you did see earlier on, the provincial secretary, Mtumiseni Ntuli of the province, was not welcomed warmly. He was booed. We also had Sihlezi Galala, the provincial chairperson of the ANC in the province. He was also booed by ANC members here at the Market Square as they were being and supporting former President Zuma before former President Zuma came to the podium. You also saw that for the first time in these cases of former President Zuma, the political part of it, the political program, was now being directed and officiated to by the ANC officials in the province, namely by the provincial secretary and the provincial chairperson, Sihlezi Galala. As South Africa goes to the 2021 local government elections later on this year, you are seeing the ANC now coming to the fore and taking charge of these particular court cases of former President Zuma, as they were used as a mobilization tactic against the leadership of the African National Congress.
So why did people boo in the first place, do you think, Samkele?
Essentially, people were booing in the first place because the ANC in the province had taken a decision, and nationally, it was a decision that was escalating down to the provincial level, that leaders of the ANC cannot go to court cases of leaders charged with serious crimes, fraud, corruption, money laundering and racketeering, because that taints the image of the African National Congress. If you look at the ANC 10 points of the step-aside resolution, it says that the ANC has the right to disassociate itself with any leader of the party who is charged with serious crimes, because that dents the image of the organization. And then a decision was taken that they will not go and to court cases to support from leaders of the ANC. And thus, the ANC leadership in the province could not go to these cases to support former President Zuma. But in the first instance, when the former president first appeared, they went to these cases on an individual capacity, going towards supporting former President Zuma. They could not go in their capacity as provincial chairperson, provincial secretary, either a PEC member. But now there's been a change of heart. The ANC in the province says they've had an engagement with national leadership of the ANC, which has agreed for the province of KwaZulu-Natal to go and support former President Zuma in court. Some say this is an opportunistic move by the ANC, as they can see that it's the campaign period time now, and they're going to use these platforms of these court cases of former President Zuma in order for them to be able to garner support for the ANC, because it's got media mileage and it's got political mileage as well. Each time the former president appears here in court, there will be a huge media contingent, and afterwards the former president will go to a platform and address. Once the former president is done addressing, then there will be leaders of the ANC who will, before the former president addresses, there will be leaders of the ANC who will have some type of 5 minutes to speak, as you saw with provincial chairperson Sihlezi Galala, and that can be used in order to gain support for the African National Congress in these upcoming local government elections.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Samkele, for giving us some context there and for your continued reporting there. That's my colleague Samkele Maseko.